Hello, hello, hello to everybody here. It's Teresa Sanderson. Very excited to connect with you today. And today we're talking about how can I improve my life as a nurse. So as you pop in today, please feel free to say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. And if you're catching on the replay, comment hashtag replay and let me know that you stopped by because I do love to hear from you. And you know what? Even now you can you can comment hashtag podcast because you might have caught us on the podcast, and I love that. So, how can I improve my life as a nurse, right? Nursing is a wonderful profession. I've been a nurse for more than 30 years. And what I can say about my career is this: nursing is a wonderful profession. It does not come without its fair share of challenges. Okay. And those challenges are everything from choosing what shift you're going to work, day shift, evening shift, night shift. Will you make a premium pay by working, evenings or nights, or maybe in a critical care department? Um, will you have to work weekends? Will you have to work holidays? I mean, there's all these things, right? Because one of the interesting things about nurses is that we are, just like the patients that we care for, we are holistic creatures. So that means we're not just a nurse. We're probably of course, we're somebody's daughter or son. We may be somebody's spouse. We might be somebody's parent. We're a sister or brother to some. And, then we have friends and all of these things, right? So how can we not get lost in the career of nursing? And that's something that I have personal experience with, by the way. And it wasn't a pretty situation. It ended up with me crashing and burning for 3 years with major depression and clawing my way to recovery. And after experiencing that, I would certainly never wish it on my worst enemy. So it's very important that we talk about how can you improve your life as a nurse, because going into nursing, nobody ever anticipates burning out. Nobody ever thinks about what if that happens to me. And the sad reality of nursing today is that it very well may happen to you. And so we need to do what we can to prevent that from happening. So how can you improve your life as a nurse? Number one, prioritize your self-care. And for me, I have to say, as somebody who's gone through major depression and had those harsh 3 years of recovery, I feel like the word self-care gets so overutilized that it really almost lacks meaning anymore. But I want you to think of just pouring into yourself and just making sure that your cup is full before you start a shift, and even when you're home, before you show up for your family, right? Make sure that your cup is full. And one of my therapists, I'm that girl, right? I still pick up therapy from time to time because it's another tool that I have to use. But one of the greatest things that she said to me once was, Teresa, think about a scale, right? If and you have stress on one side and you have self-care on the other, and we want them in balance. We want those two sides of the scale to balance. So if stress is increasing, it's going to weigh it's going to be heavier than the self-care. So we have to pour on the self-care to be able to balance the scale. Does that make sense? When I finally heard it that way, I understood, oh my gosh, when I start to sense anxiety or stress or overwhelm, that is my clue that I need to be pouring on self-care more than ever before so that I can show up in all areas of my life as the best version of myself. Does that make sense? So as you think about self-care, don't think about it as something that's hocus pocus and you're going to, light some incense or smell some essential oils or something like that, because it is so much more than that. It is so much more than that. And there's so many ways that you can achieve it. But if you don't have a self-care plan in place for yourself, we should talk about that, because that is going to be vitally important to you in the decades to come as you work as a nurse. Okay. Notice that we don't just start a career for 2 years or 3. We start a career for the long haul. And so if you're going to be able to stick it out, you need to be able to prepare for it. Okay. Another thing you can do is set some boundaries. And we hear this a lot: set boundaries, set your boundaries, watch those boundaries. Well, what are they really? And boundaries are just really those invisible barriers that are around you, that it's kind of a no pass zone. And for me, it looks a few different ways. Number one, if somebody comes at me with an attitude of disrespect or something like that, I don't need that person in my life. Do you see what I mean? I can choose not to interact with you. Do you see what I mean? I don't have to engage. And my husband says this a lot. He said, Teresa, just disengage. And he practices disengaging a lot. And that's just somebody can come at me and maybe they're, throwing things at me. I feel like sometimes I can feel like I need to put on a rubber suit, right? Because of, everything, the comments and verbal things that are being put on me. And this hasn't happened forever, by the way, but it did used to happen sometimes. But now I don't have to take that. And I recognize that I own my power and I can say, you know what, I really don't appreciate it when you talk to me like that. When you are able to talk to me in a normal tone of voice, we'll get back together. We can chat about it. See what I mean? And I can just disengage and leave it at that. Okay. Truth be told, I don't even have to say anything. I can just say, you know what, see you later. I'm checking out. Okay. It's okay. That is a boundary. That is saying I will do this and I won't do that. Other kinds of boundaries. I mean, for me personally, I make sure that I have personal space when we travel to see some of our family members. It's just become very important to me to protect my mental health that much that if there are some things that really would interfere with my boundaries and me feeling safe and would cause me a lot of anxiety and a lot more stress, I want to have fun when I visit my family. So sometimes just having an Airbnb or a hotel offsite, that is a great solution. I have a boundary. That is a true physical boundary, right? That I have set up for myself, that I have an escape hatch. If I need to take it, I can use it and I can go to that safe space. See what I mean? Lots of different ways to do it. Another thing you can do is foster a safe and supportive work environment. Or, I'm sorry, let's talk about supportive first, right? Because supportive work environment, this goes back to nurses eating their young. That great, crazy phenomenon that we've always been known for. That's really so embarrassing, especially as just the other day we were voted for the 22nd year in a row the most trusted healthcare or the most trusted professionals in the world. Okay. Nurses get that title from year to year, but you know who we treat terribly? Each other. Each other. That is so crazy. So, supportive work environment. It's important to let people know when they're failing in their communication. And you can do that with great love and with great respect. And just, it's as simple as, you know what, I really don't appreciate it when you talk to me like that. And I would like it if we could treat each other professionally when we're here at work. See what I mean? You don't have to be angry about it. You don't have to be anything about it, really. But you can just say, that's not going to fly with me. That's not going to fly with me. Another good one that I like to use, and this always looks like a bucket of water that you throw at somebody's face, is when somebody comes to you and they just want to really badmouth another team member. I just, kind of look them square in the face, and say, man, I feel really uncomfortable when we talk about other people and they're not in the room. Ooh, that's a good one. And you know what? It shuts everything off and they go on their way because you know what? I don't need that negative energy. I don't need it. Their issue has nothing to do with me, right? So, supportive work environment. It's important that we tell people when they're failing in communication. It's also important that we acknowledge when people are doing things well, right? So, when somebody solves a problem, when somebody is able to intervene with a patient or client complaint issue and resolve it, we need to be celebrating those things and telling people, wow, that's a great job. What was it that learn about it. What caused you to say X, Y, Z? Because that totally de-escalated that situation. How did you think of that? Right? Let's learn from each other. And that creates a supportive environment because we're celebrating one person while also learning for ourselves. See what I mean? Great stuff here. The next thing, find work-life balance. Is this elusive? Yes, very elusive, but there are some great things that you can do to get your work-life balance. Number one, you can put your phone on Do Not Disturb when you're not at work. Man, I didn't get notified when anybody called me saying they needed me to work the next 3 shifts, right? Dang, I missed those calls. I was in Do Not Disturb mode because you know what? I'm off. I'm off. I'm not on the schedule. I don't have to have my phone on, right? I'll be there the next time I'm scheduled. So that's one great way to support work-life balance, right? Also, it's important for you to know that when you get asked to work shift after shift after shift, no matter what additional bonus or premium they're going to pay on that shift, recognize that when you're running on empty, you have nothing to give, okay? And I really call foul on organizations that continue to say, we need you to work an extra shift. I know you're exhausted, but we're going to pay you double time. Shame on you. Shame on you for doing that because that's only going to lead to my burnout and extreme fatigue and not being able to stay in the business for the long haul. Do you see what I mean? So be a guardian of your own human resource, right? You're the one. You're the one who is the nurse and who the patients need and who your family needs to show up as your best. So, work-life balance is largely dependent on you. And yes, I know we're in the middle of a nursing crisis, right? I know we're in the middle of a nursing shortage, but it's not going to improve if you burn out and quit. See what I mean? It's not going to improve. So you need to be the CEO of your calendar and the CEO of your time. Okay. That leads to the next thing. Practice effective time management. And I think we all know this, but it's just very important to kind of just reiterate the few minutes that you may spend planning before your shift starts, when you can take 10 minutes before your shift starts and identify which patients are going to need what at certain times of the day, and so that you can have an organized run of your day, that's really going to benefit you 1,000-fold during your shift. Is other stuff going to happen? Yes, but you're already going to know the general lay of the land and the things that need to be done at certain times. Do that when you're at work, but also manage your time effectively when you're at home. And I want to encourage you to use your off time to make memories, to do new things, to pamper yourself. Go get that mani-pedi. Take the kids out somewhere, because you know what? A lot of nurses tell me, you know what, Teresa, I would do something in my off time, but I'm just exhausted. You know why you're exhausted? Is because you're not doing fun memory-making things when you're off, okay? Don't let your employers steal your off time from you too. Do things that are fun and inspiring for you when you're off, so that you can come back refueled and rejuvenated. You don't have to go 24 hours straight in your off time, but do something that's going to be fun and valuable and add quality to your life and your days that you and your family are going to make, just totally enjoy together. So those are just a few tips. I hope you found them helpful. If there's anything that resonated with you, I would love it if you drop a comment. And I do want to remind you, if you haven't already clicked over to give our podcast a listen, please do that. Click the link below the video. Be sure when you go there, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And also give us a review. Would love to hear from you. If there's something you want to learn about that we haven't provided yet, let us know. Would love to hear from you on that. So thanks for tuning in today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.